Good morning, class 12 students. This is the final part of the poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. And in today's session, we will be discussing all the poetic device that we found in the poem. And so, before we proceed with the poetic devices, I think we should first discuss the summary and the portion we covered in the last three videos. So, the writer of this poem is Stephen Spender, and he describes the communal inequalities, social injustice which are prevailing in our society. So in this poem, the author is also trying to draw the attention of everybody towards these children who are living and studying in a school, in an elementary school which is situated in a slum area. Understand? And actually and also he wants them to get education so that they could improve their lives, and so that they won't become criminals, because education has power to transform anyone. And that is why he wants to make sure that the rich, the government, and the society, they pay heed to them, and they do something in order to improve their education and their living standard, so that they will not turn into criminals. They will have better future, and they too can contribute to this world. So that's what we this is actually the main idea of the poem. So in the first stanza, we see the poet describes the appearance of the students, and he shows that they are unwanted. They're like rootless weeds, and they're it seems they don't have any energy. They are so it seems they are withered like rootless weeds, because what we do, we uproot the weed, and it dries and dies. Similarly, these children, they are they are not energetic, they are malnourished, they're hungry. And he also mentioned about a kid who's he's sitting and having bright eyes, which is full of dreams, rat's eye, hungry for food and opportunity. And then he talks about a girl. She's very tall, she is poverty stricken, she's emotionally not strong. That is why she has her head, she cannot even raise her head, right? Because she's upset, and she's poverty stricken, she's malnourished, she is weak. And then there is a paper seeming boy. He's as thin as a paper. And then there is a boy, he's so unfortunate because he has inherited his father's disease, twisted bones, and his growth is stunted. And we have a sweet innocent child who is sitting in the back of the class, and he's watching the squirrels game which is playing in its tree room. He's dreaming, he's craving for freedom and open space. So this is what we see in the first stanza. And in the second stanza, the poet talks about the classroom, right? In the second stanza, he has he talked about the classroom. That classroom is dirty, it muddy walls, like sour cream. He used the image sour cream to show the reader that the wall is not well maintained. And also many people have given multiple charts, posters, and there is a poster of Shakespeare also, right? And his head is bald, and he looks like the rising sun, in some of the way they have said. But Shakespeare, this is actually an example of illusion, because they have given an indirect reference of something, right? So Shakespeare, it represents the highest literally figure in English literature. And then we have a poster of the Tyrolese Valley, which is in Austria. It's a beautiful valley. So it is again images and symbolism of beauty of nature. And then there is a world map, right, which is actually tempting them to steal and to run away from the slum. But they cannot just run away from the slum unless and until they have good opportunity or good education. Otherwise they will be forced or to become a criminal if they don't find anything I mean, nobody will employ them because they don't have any education. So they have dim and hopeless futures, and then they have a dark and depressing future. And then poet says that their lives can only be improved only if what and before that he referred to Shakespeare as a wicked person. Why he referred to him as a wicked person, although he's a good one, although Shakespeare was a good person? Because these pictures and Shakespeare, his valleys, the suns, sunsets, all these beautiful things, and Shakespeare has nothing to do with these children because they don't know anything about English or English literature or the sun or the ships, right? It is just tempting them to steal and to just run away and steal those things. So that is why Shakespeare, it is deemed to be wicked for them. Understand? And the children are so thin that their bones and skeletons, they are very clearly visible because they don't get enough food to eat. They lack, nourishment, right? And their glasses, they are made of steel and it is cheap. And the quality of the glass, it is not very good. It's not good. So they are actually poverty stricken, right? And unless and until somebody comes, I mean the government official or the inspector or any educators, if they that is why he has written this poem. He's actually encouraging and requesting these concerned people so that they could actually do something in order to improve their condition. Understand? So this is this is what we discussed in the last 3 video. Now I think we need to actually focus on our today's session's topic, that is poetic device. We have to discuss. So we will be we'll go through all the metaphor that have been used in this particular poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum Area. So what is metaphor is, it is actually when a writer compares one thing to another without using any as or like. Understand? So when he compares one thing to another and when there is an underlining meaning, for example, gusty waves, right? In this you will find in the first wave. So gusty waves means, it is not just gusty waves means powerful wind. It doesn't just mean powerful wind. It also means there's a comparison that gusty waves means the privileged children are compared to castaways. Compared to castaways. Castaways here are the slum children, and they're also energetic and exuberant because these children, they have faces like unlike the usual children. So that is why they are compared, right? So these children, they are not energetic and exuberant, and gusty waves means the privileged children who are educated and energetic and exuberant. And then we have future painted with fog. Fog is actually the you see in winter, right? So fog means when you can't see. Future painted with fog means it refers to the future of the slum children, which has been compared the fog because it is uncertain and unclear, because you cannot see clearly in the fog, which is uncertain. And it doesn't mean unclear. It doesn't mean unclear. It also means that the future of these children is it's very unclear, uncertain, right? There is no hope for them. Sealed with the lead sky, it refers to the dull and gray color of the sky. The literal meaning is the dull and gray color of the sky, and it also means depressing future of the slum children, right? Because lead sky refers to dull and gray color of the sky. So it doesn't only mean dull and gray color of the sky, it also means the depressing future of the children and their condition, right? From fog to endless nights. From fog to endless night means it is again a example of metaphor, because you see an underlining meaning, because literal meaning is something else. So it refers to the future of the slum children, which is without any ray of hope. I mean, they don't have any future, they don't have any opportunity. So their future can only, go from bad to worse. It will not improve. And then we have metaphor in this line. Wear skin. This is not speed, children, this is peeped, right? Let me just edit it first. This is peeped. Where skin peeped through by bones refers to weak bodies of the children. So in this these children, they are so thin, they are so weak and feeble that you could actually count their bones. They don't have fat layer because they don't get enough food or nutrition. Let their tongue runs naked into books. Let their tongues run naked into books. It doesn't mean that they will, the literal meaning is actually something, but metaphorically it refers to the act of the following children to go, and the poet wants them to have have experience of nature. He also wants them to enjoy their life, and run naked into books means he wants them to have good education so that they could study, they could understand, they could play outside the slum, and they could get all the education they deserve. Whose language is the sun? Whose language is the sun means someone who is highly educated, right? And the children who live in pleasant surroundings. Uh, whose language is sun means only the people who are educated. Whose language is sun means the people who are educated, the children who are educated. And sour cream, it means the color of the wall, which is very dull, and it also represents that the condition of their classroom, right? And also that how unfortunate they are. And then we have slag heap. This is an example of symbolism, and this is also an example of metaphor. Slag heap means, children, even garbage has some value. So when you remove this value from the garbage, what we are left with, slag heap. So these children are like slag heap, right? They're compared to slag heap. They don't have any value. They're like you cannot even compare them to garbage, because even garbage has some value, but these children, they are so unwanted. And then we have simile. So what is simile? Simile is it is comparison of two things with using as and like. I think it is very simple to identify. I think anybody can identify simile, because you will see the use of the word as and like. So simile is it can be identified easily. So we have like rootless weeds, which children have been children have been compared to weeds are the unwanted section of society. So these children, they are unwanted. Like bottle bits on the stone, the spectacles, the glasses they are wearing, they are actually, it seems that it is made of yes, broken glass of a bottle, right? And then we have windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Catacombs is actually underground burial chamber, right? It was quite common in long ago, right? So actually the classrooms and the place where they lived, it is actually very confined, restricted. So it is like underground passages that leads to symmetry. Their maps with slums as big as doom, right? This is again, it is very simple to identify as big as doom. And then we have repetition. Repetition is very simple. Repetition can also be, it can also, you can easily identify repetition. It can also be easily identified, because repetition, you see a word is being repeated either in the stanza, in one stanza, or in the whole poem, right? So repetition is the process of repeating certain words or phrases, and there won't be any specific pattern. Like for example, break a break, open till they break. See, we see the break word is being repeated. It repeated here, and here, and then far, far. It is far, being repeated. And then we have anaphora. Anaphora, it's very different. You see the repetition here, but it is not an example of repetition. As you can example, run azar, run naked. So what is anaphora? Anaphora is actually it is you can, there's a fine line difference between repetition and anaphora, because in the case of anaphora, you see that a word is being repeated in the beginning of following clause. So you see run, there will always be a principal clause, and then you see in the beginning full stop, and then there will be in the beginning we have run, and in the second line In the beginning we have run, so this is an example of anaphora. So an allusion, yes, what is allusion? Allusion, in the poem Shakespeare Head, right? Shakespeare Head is an example of allusion. What is allusion? Allusion is actually an indirect reference to a thing, right? Reference to a thing or something. For example, for a Shakespeare Head, right? It is an example of highest. I mean, he's a highly. It is a high literally figure. Understand? And then we have alliteration. Alliteration is also very simple to identify. It is the repetition of a sound or a letter at the beginning of multiple words in a series. For example, far, far from. You can see consonant sound is being repeated. F, surely Shakespeare. S sound. And we have then we have metonymy, and then we have personification. Personification is when you personified a non-living thing. For example, in this they have used the word ride, and ride, human being rides, right? Non-living thing doesn't ride, so it is an example of personification. And then metonymy with let me just it is not, it is misspelled here, let me just edit it first. Metonymy, right? So metonymy is very simple. You have to find out. It is actually the substitution of the name or of an attribute, right? So you will see in the poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum Area, they have used a substitution for the rich people. So this is where it is called metonymy. And then we have pun. Pun means it is a literary device that plays with words. I mean, when a word has two multiple meanings. For example, reciting a father's gnarl disease, that he's suffering from this disease, and also he's so unfortunate. Sour cream means the color of the wall, and yes, the dull, poorly managed classroom. And then this is actually not lead sky. Let me just edit it once again. This is lead sky, right? It is actually the unclear. I mean, the slum area. You will find slum area where the air quality is not good. You will see, they're like they're situated around the area where there's so much pollution, and you could actually see the huge pile of garbage and all. And then we have images and symbolism. Images means that instigates you to visualize, and symbolism means when it symbolizes or symbolism of something. For example, gusty waves, it is also an example of metaphor we have discussed above. And then we have paper swimming boy. It is also a symbolism that shows that these children are so malnourished. Twisted bones, sour cream walls, Carly's Valley, images, and also symbolism of beautiful things in nature. Ships and sun, this is again a beautiful symbolism of nature and beauty. Open-handed map, the map of the rich people. And gold sands means ocean, beach, where these children cannot go because they are confined to slum. So that's all we have in today's session. We have discussed all the poetic devices. These are very important, and you must know what they are. Instead of memorizing, you need to understand the concept, that why it is called alliteration, that why it is called metaphor, what makes them metaphor, what makes them pun, what makes them allusion. This is what you all need to find out. Don't just memorize them, right? Just go through the video from the beginning to the end, and you will understand them well. So that's all for today's session, everyone. See you in the next class. If you have any questions or queries, you can discuss in the online Google Meet class, or you can reach to me, and you know how to do it. Thank you.